Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the California Restaurant Association Confidential Bulletin podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest from up the hall here in Restaurant Central, Matt Sutton, CRA's Senior Vice President for Government Affairs and Public Policy. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Jot.
We've got another legislative session under our belt. You've been on the forefront of every issue, leading a team of our advocates and lobbyists in the Capitol and city councils throughout the state. But I know you've been spending a lot of time in the Capitol, especially in the waning days of the session. How would you rank this session compared to others in terms of our agenda?
Interesting question. And I've been thinking a lot about that lately just because yesterday, actually, end of Monday marked the deadline for the governor to act on all the pending bills before him. So signature and veto. Looking at those results and having a good sense of what they would be, we fared really well. I think we had a solid year. The year started with a large number of new lawmakers in the legislature. So you have 120 lawmakers, as you know, Jot, and we basically had a huge crop of new legislators, and that comes with a lot of opportunity, and it comes with some challenges too. It's a lot of new faces and new people to bring along on the issues as well. But we did well.
So how many new lawmakers are there? I know there was a large class in the last general election, not this immediately past general election, but there was like a third of the lawmakers were brand new. What's the new class in terms of size?
This first year lawmaker class was just over 30, I believe, and that was a big chunk of new members. Brought a lot of new energy, brought a lot of new ideas. But as advocates, it's always an opportunity and it's always a challenge. That's a lot of new people to meet and to get to know and figure out what makes them tick and figure out, how to help them be responsive to our issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, how long does that take? I mean, you get a class of, let's say, 30 new lawmakers who have, many of them have been in local government, so they have some experience in public policy and may not understand sort of the restaurant industry. What's the process that you go through to educate all those lawmakers, and how long does it take?
I appreciate that. I like the process question better than how long it takes. How long it takes depends on the lawmaker and personalities and human nature and all that good stuff. But it's a decent amount of time. A lot of what we're doing is spending time with those lawmakers. And I don't mean time in the committee hearings as votes are taking place. There is a tremendous amount of front end work that goes on in terms of establishing those relationships and maintaining them. And so, how do we do it? We find all sorts of opportunities to create connectivity between ourselves and our lobbying team and the lawmakers and of course our members. And I think, over time, lawmakers, especially when they can step outside the Capitol for a little bit and look at our issues in terms of the restaurant landscape in that Capitol building, as you well know, they're being fed information on just about every issue possible. A lot of what we need to do is just get our own dedicated FaceTime, frankly, where we can talk about the restaurant industry, talk about what happens in the four walls of a restaurant and how that business model is just so different than the rest of the business community, which we partner with, but we're very distinct from.
Yeah, so when you're spending time with these lawmakers in the building, you're usually, half hour most, right? And they've got back-to-back meetings, and it's getting them in an environment where you can have a conversation and without all the distractions of the Capitol. There's a lot that goes on during the legislative session outside of the Capitol. There's events all the time, gatherings, lots of fundraisers. You're at most of these. You're at a lot of these. Is that part of the relationship building process? So you're by day, you and your team are morning till night in the Capitol, constantly talking to staffers, committee staffers, members, and then in the evening, there's a lot of events. You know, is that where you're finding time with them? Less hyper intense environment?
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes identifying those environments that are good and productive for those kinds of connections. And so we're with lawmakers all the time, literally. Absolutely. We have our day's worth of work and committee hearings and lobbying, but then in the evening, there's countless different events and educational opportunities and things that we're with lawmakers as well. So it is round the clock in that sense. And, I guess that makes sense because this is a relationship business. And the relationships I have in that building and that you have in that building, speaking generally about the building, the Capitol, those go back decades. And, that's what gives this association the credibility it has across the street.